All right. Are you ready to rock and roll and to get into this Shilo Hendrix episode? What are we doing here? Does saying enter defeat white guilt? We'll talk about it. And we'll talk about the distillation. What is really this about for some folks? What is it about for some others? Are there productive ways for supporting or productive reasons for supporting Shilo Hendrix? Are there destructive reasons for supporting Shilo Hendrix? The answer is yes to both. We're going to be digging into it. Great to see everybody who is here. Minnesota mom rakes in over $500,000. Minnesota mom rakes in over $500,000. It is climbing. Let's see exactly what she's at this very moment. I can pull it up on this other computer, and I have it over here. Let's see. She's up to $639,000 at this moment. And not taken down. Says here on the post, Minnesota mom rakes in over $500,000 after calling boy with autism the N-word. I think that Dice probably had it right or close to right when he said it's not autism, he's a crack baby. Or fetal alcohol syndrome, I guess it could also be. They'll supply the proof that he's autistic, I'm sure. A Minnesota woman caught on a viral video calling an autistic child the N-word is painting herself as the victim, and she has raked in more than $500,000 in an online fundraiser after declaring her personal information had been leaked because of the incident. Shilo Hendrix identified herself as the mother caught on camera this week hurling the vile slur at a 5-year-old boy she allegedly caught rifling through her bag at a playground in Rochester, about 90 minutes south of Minneapolis. Hendrix can then be seen in the clip turning her ire and profanity on the black man who confronted her and filmed the incident. It's always when they talk about black guys in media, in news, entertainment media, news media, it's always a black man, although they didn't capitalize it here. It's always a man. It's always when something good, it's always a man. White guys, though, are called guys. They're not called men. Interesting little anti-whiteism, isn't it? When Shamarke Omar asked Hendrix if she flung the vile slur at the child, she told him, yeah. He took my son's stuff, she declared. Omar, 30, pressed the blonde woman who was carrying a child on her hip and asked if digging through her belongings would justify using a racial slur on the child. Quote, if that's what he's going to act like, she said. I'm just reading that for the first time. I did hear that, though, in the clip. And this, maybe I'll get into it. Maybe I'll get into that element as we work into it. But that's another wrinkle to the use of enter that I've seen. Maybe I'll just go ahead and say it now. I've seen white people. There are, and we're going to speak more broadly on this, there are a lot of white people who use, and it's usually socioeconomically the much lower, who will use that slur and other slurs as descriptors, and then they cravenly attempt to defend themselves. And now that I say it, you're all going to say, oh, yeah, I've heard that. they will cravenly try to defend themselves by saying, well, not every black person is an N-er, and white people can be N-ers, and Hispanics can be N-ers, and it's this really craven retreating. It doesn't apply just to them, and I'm sure you've seen it as well over the years. But that's, if he's going to act like that, sounds like that's where that's coming from. She said before repeating the slur several times at Omar while he recorded. Thousands of people online condemned Hendrix. Of course, thousands are supporting her. And as I said, as we were rocking out to Anglo-Saxon NWG music, big salutes there for that jam. As we were rocking out, as I said, or I posed the question, are there constructive reasons for supporting Shilo Hendrix? 100%. Are there destructive reasons for supporting Shilo Hendrix? 100%. So we'll be talking about those. I know there are a lot of low IQ people out there that are acting like this is support or of their interpretation of support, or you are, and then fill in the blank with every slander imaginable. Of course, I'm going to be showing you one of these critics, an image that he shared on his own media. It is beneficial when you're going to have people slandering you from mostly anonymity. Some of them are 100% anonymous. It's beneficial to show them. Also have some audio so you can actually hear one of them talking. Again, posted on their own media. And you'll be able to see what kind of intelligence these kind of people have, what kind of morality the ones that are attacking that they have. It's going to be a doozy. But let's continue with this. She then hurled the slur several more times at Omar while he recorded. Thousands of people online condemned her. And I add, thousands more support her. The boy is autistic, Omar told NBC News. I don't know I haven't heard, what does a pedophile sound like? Because it isn't Omar, there was a charge, according to my reading, and if it's wrong, then let subsequent reporting demonstrate, but that he and another anti-white black guy raped, sexually assaulted a minor, a child, pedophilia, and then in the interest of justice, that's going to be how they wash away what's done to you and your family at the legal level in the West, as is happening. But it will be everywhere. That's how they'll just wash it away. That's how they'll just wipe it away, whatever gets done to you. If we don't defeat the morality, the social morality of the West, it'll be in the interest of justice. Oh, your wife, your child, or whatever, was raped or was maimed. Well, in the interest of justice, we're going to drop the charges. So, I mean, if I heard this guy, then I would attempt to imitate what he sounds like, and I would probably sound better at him than he sounds at him. But until then, I don't know. So we'll just have to plow forward. It's probably like, little boy was upset. Omar, who also has Somalian heritage, but is not related to the boy, told the outlet during the confrontation. Hendrix, I guess we could play the video, but he's kind of yelling. His voice is kind of raised there. Hendrix allegedly told him he and his wife shouldn't have more children because they are a drain on the welfare system. Well, are they? Did anybody actually ask that question at the New York Post of Omar? Did anybody ask, are you a drain on the system? Are you receiving any public benefits at all? And furthermore, there should be zero public benefits for first generation. Zero. You get nothing. You come here and contribute if we allow you in, and you get nothing. And I would say the people who show up, no benefits, and their children, no benefits. You have to be producers if we allow you in. But this nonsensical approach to immigration and the door wide open and welfare systems to these people, they come into the country, and how many cases have we seen now? validated, the stories validated by Doge, people coming in, Mexicans, Fuentes coming into the country, and they're like 68. They're not going to work. They start collecting right away on the backs of your parents and your great-grandparents and your great-grandparents. So Hendrix has since proclaimed herself a victim of the attack, asserting online that the viral video has put her family in jeopardy. Because it has. Why are you putting that in question, New York Post? You're like, are they really in danger, though? Are they really in danger? And at the same time, they're encouraging the danger. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. Beautiful little boy. I called the kid out for what he was, the woman identified. And another man who was recently found out has had a history of law enforcement, proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos, and of course, he was threatening her. And he carried out that threat. In an anti-white society, which is all of the West, to threaten somebody, this is what we talk about in the book, and that's why we have the successes. It is the 201 IQ psychological defense for the 200 IQ psychological warfare waged against us. What am I referencing right now in this practice? It is the social lynching. That's what this guy knew he was threatening her with. That's how this guy knew he could ruin her. There's a weapon in society that even somebody as dumb and as violent and a miscreant like Omar knows that there's this weapon. It's more powerful than a gun. It's more powerful than a knife. And you can see what a knife can do in the hands of a Carmelo Anthony. It's more powerful than all of these things. Social lynching. And I say routinely about how this undermines, this victimizes our people on a daily basis, because we have to fear continually social lynching, which is exactly what's happening here. And I submit to you, is the main motivator for the people financially gifting Shilo. Their anger over having to fear social lynching. And it takes many different forms, doesn't it? You can get hauled before an anti-white tribunal. You can get fired. You can be thrown out of school. Anti-whites call this being canceled. We don't use that word here because they chose that concept for its association in your subconscious mind, because their leadership is applying the psychological warfare, and the general run-of-the-mill anti-whites know to submit to that superior intellect and application of a practice to achieve their objective, which is anti-white outcomes. You don't get the same over here when it comes to white folks, and that's why we're going to be talking about a little bit later the unredeemable. The unredeemable. So he has, all anti-whites have this powerful weapon, and all white people know that they have it. Social lynching. So he followed her and he said, I'm going to get you socially lynched. Not in those words, not in those specific words, but he was saying those exact words. My Social Security has been leaked, Shilo adds. My address, the phone number, my phone number has been given out. My family members are being attacked. My eldest child may not be able to go back to school. Obviously going, well, I wouldn't say obviously, so many private schools over the things that I've received from mothers and fathers from private schools. They pay a lot of money for. Catholic private schools pay lots of money for. Anti-white is all hell. But certainly public school, anti-white is all hell. Even where I exercise, so the gym she goes to, she's being socially lynched. And the white race is sick of it. We hate this fact that we live our lives with this fear of being socially lynched. And I submit that the vast majority of people supporting Shilo here is an expression of that rage. Regrettably, the white race is not going to be able to make every white person a millionaire that gets socially lynched. Not even 3 or 4. Will the white race be able to make this one a millionaire? Will the white race be able to make one more a millionaire? How many more white people will the white race be able to make a millionaire when they are socially lynched? Before they finally get fatigue from gifting hand over fist. How many more? Kind of seems like a self-limiting remedy, if it's a remedy at all. Hendrix claims she must relocate herself and her 2 children to escape threats. So I'm hearing a lot of comment across the internet about Shilo, and that she has a loving husband of 10 years or 20 years or something like this. And of course, they're saying this. It really doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't matter to me whether she has a loving husband of 10 or 20 years or not, per the issue, for the reason these people are claiming that she does, which is that she's a better person than she appears to be. Their conversation, not mine. I'm not into that aspect of it. So the whole conversation about whether or not she's just another single mother, is she receiving any compensation from the state herself? Is there a father? Are there 2 fathers? Are there one? And they're saying, well, there's a father and he's been there. It's a loving household. It's a big, beautiful, loving household. I hope it is. But she says here she's going to have to move herself and her 2 children. No mention of a husband. No mention of a father that's present. I don't know. That's up for you to figure out. Not really my interest in this aspect of what took place here. As of early said, because you would kind of think that if she does have a husband, maybe her and the husband are on this Gibson Go or whatever, and they are together saying, we're going to have to move our family. We are terrified. We are being threatened. So I don't know. Really not my interest in the story. As of early Saturday, she had raised more than $525,000, while Hendrix claimed in the post that Omar had a history of problems with law enforcement. State court records show she has multiple convictions of her own, including driving under the influence, disorderly conduct, and a charge for brawling. The Rochester Police Department said Friday it was investigating the matter after receiving multiple calls related to the video. This isn't racism. Racism, we never use this word. It's a public reckoning for Carmelo Anthony getting paid $500,000 to kill a white child while no one flinched. And that, of course, is a huge element. I went live about 30 minutes. There's some music as well. I went live everywhere but YouTube on Friday to talk about this and gave my immediate thoughts on it and the motivations for people supporting, which are multiple. So these people coming forward, especially these sewer simp wignats who are coming forward and saying, oh, no, you've got to support this particular way. And if you're not supporting this particular way, and if you're critical of anything about this incident or her behavior or whatever, then you need to be violently assaulted. Some of the threats that were given to me, violently assaulted, and trying to recruit people to help with the violent assault on X. White people, supposedly. White people. 3+ decades of service to the white race, all the good that we've done here, 14 lives taken off the path to suicide. We could go on, and we know we can. And yeah, those are the guys. You know who doesn't behave like that? Jews. If you're a Jewish guy and these wignat sewer simps they speak negatively about Jews and how they're just parasites and they're the lowest of low. They're not even human. And if you're a Jewish guy and you save the lives of 14 Jewish people by their own open testimonials and all of the other good that they've done, no Jewish person is going to talk to you that way, no matter how much they disagree with you. No Jewish person. So I wonder who is a better person, the average Jew who would never treat a fellow Jew who is pro-Jewish that way, or the Wignat sewer simps who relentlessly defame and lie and slander and calumniate yours truly and threaten, of course, with murder. Bring it. Bring it. Minnesota law defines one type of assault as an action taken with intent to cause fear. It would be considered a misdemeanor if they do decide to file charges against Shilo Hendrix for calling the child, which obviously is not 5. We looked at the video. I looked at the video. The child is, my guess, I'm not the best. I mean, I couldn't work for the carnival guessing ages and weights and things. But I could tell you this, he's definitely not younger than 9. He is 9 or more, in my opinion. Absolute, if I had to put money down, absolutely 7 or more, but definitely not 5. Probably is going to end up being like 13. The boy's parents have expressed support for prosecution, according to Omar. Neither Omar nor Hendrix could be immediately reached for comment by the Post. On Friday, Minnesota Democrat delegation commended Omar for standing up to Hendrix, even as she continues to spew hate. We condemn these vile acts of racism in the strongest possible way. This disgusting rhetoric has no place in our community. Shut up. Anti-whites all. So, what happened? You should probably know. A white mother was at a playground with her white little boy. Where was the other little boy? I don't know. With the father? And do they not live together? I mean, why? She's got one. She's at the playground. And there are also these anti-white, non-white families at the playground. And there are children there. And there is an anti-white black guy who was charged with sexually assaulting, raping a child. But those charges were dropped in the interest of justice. For some reason, he is at the playground, and not a lot of people are asking, why is this guy who was charged with doing this to a child around a bunch of children if he's not there with a child? And I was just wondering, and nobody has answered. Really doesn't matter. But is he like an uncle? Is he like a cousin of the kids? Or was he just there looking for some satisfaction? And that's what's become of the West. Be careful what I'm saying. That's what's become of the West, with all of the previous ideas about how to combat our victimization in place for generations back. We've gotten to a point where anti-white blacks from other countries can be in our once lily-ass white playgrounds, leering at our white babies, with all of the old strategies in place to defend and prevent that from happening. Never forget that. When you're thinking about what can we do, simply ask, if it's gone before, that's not on the menu. That doesn't work. If that was tried in the past, it doesn't work. That's how we get with Omar's on the playground in once lily white, beautifully white areas of our nations. Anyhow, so he's there watching, and this child decides that he's going to rifle through the diaper bag of Shilo, her diaper that she has for her child, and maybe steals something as well. She runs after him calls him a racial slur, and retrieves the item perhaps. Omar approaches and uses the atomic weapon of social lynching that we teach you about. We teach you how to overcome it in your workplace. We teach you how to overcome it in your family circle, in your friends' circle. And we have massive successes doing this in the lives of real white people, sharing their testimonials. End of conversation about what works, right? He whips out the atomic weapon, which is really good for Shilo Hendrix and her beautiful little baby boy. Because this was the behavior that I said, that I criticized, is extremely reckless, and it is. You don't know, she does not know whether or not Omar is a Carmelo. My criticism of that recklessness is a benefit to her, a benefit to others who will hear and potentially heed the advice, the admonition by way of the criticism. Who but a psycho, and these are the people that I addressed in my tweet, where some folks lost their minds over it. Who but a psycho would get off with this new fetish, this new sexual fetish on a woman jeopardizing her life and the life of her baby white boy? Who but a sicko would get off on that? Who but a sicko would applaud the reckless behavior? Those people, I point out, would not have given a damn if Shilo had just said, "Get the fuck away from me, you piece of shit. I'm taking my son and I'm leaving." This little, if she had called the kid a piece of shit, none of these people would be caring right now. Now, I'm talking about the Wignats. There are plenty other people who would be interested in a white woman being threatened, in a white woman and her little boy not being able to be at the park, in a white woman and her little boy being stalked, in a white woman and her little boy suffering from a anti-white social lynching. Plenty of good people. The good people are not the ones steering this conversation into a slur fetish, which is what it's become. The most deranged thing for them. And this generalized conversation. Interestingly enough, you know who agrees with the Wignat sewer simps? The anti-whites writing all these articles. Both the Wignats and the anti-whites writing the articles are saying it's all about saying enter. It's all about, and that breaks white guilt. That destroys the white guilt. It's all about saying enter. So let's talk about then what I had to say with this in my tweet, which got quite a bit of attention, and my follow-up tweet as well. And I'll just read a segment of it to you all so that you can understand. I write this after this happening in response to the voices all over social media. I was not reading white people talking about, or their messages were few and far between relative to these Wignats, talking about just a mother having to flee from this predator, a mother now being hunted by anti-whites and needing to relocate. The people who are making the conversation about saying enter are the ones who are vociferous in your face, and these are the pieces of garbage that I'm talking to, celebrating Shilo for her reckless behavior. Let me read the beginning again. And this is so important because so many of the people who are threatening my life, who are slandering me, who are spreading falsehoods and misrepresentations about my position, they're saying of this tweet that I said X, Y, or Z that has nothing to do with this tweet, that I am countering, that Jason is countering Shilo Hendrix, that Jason is slandering Shilo, that Jason is trying to shut down Shilo, that Jason wants to prevent Shilo from getting any money, that Jason is all of this garbage. And you can see from what I write here in this tweet that their arguments have nothing to do with the tweet. Those are lies, and this an opportunity to slander someone that they are intensely jealous of because they are intensely inferior to. That's what it's born out of. That's where all the slander comes from. That's the deep jealousy and hatred. This is the tall poppy syndrome in the white race. Because what does Jason actually write? The white people celebrating Shilo for her reckless behavior don't care about her. That is a fact. Would you tell your daughter, if you have a white daughter or a white niece, would it be showing concern or love for her to tell her, yes, if a black male out in society you're alone with upsets you, go ahead and call him an N-er? Is that showing her love? We all witness every day these videos. It's seemingly without end of black people, anti-white black people, black males, black females, killing and maiming and beating the ever-living life out of white people. And they don't even have to call them N-ers to get that kind of a response. You could just look at them wrong. You could just look at them wrong and be white, and they'll kill you for that. You can just say, this isn't your team's tent. You're not going to flex on us, the rival team to your team. Get out of here, and they'll kill you for that. So are you showing love for Shilo Hendrix and all of the other Shilo Hendrixes out there by celebrating the behavior that would absolutely get white people killed, that would get her killed, that would get her beautiful little white boy killed? Fuck every one of you pieces of low-life shit, wignat, sewer simp garbage attacking me because I actually care about our people. Because if I had Shilo Hendrix's ear, I would say, never do that. I realize that you have this fortuitous moment where Carmelo just got all of this money for killing a white person, and white people are angry about that, and there's blowback. And white people are angry about having to suffer on a daily basis this fear of social lynching. Or near daily basis, the fear of social lynching. We see it everywhere. We think of it. And you had a fortuitous moment. That is awesome for you. Take the money and run. But in the future, I would tell Shilo Hendrix, never do that again. Because as a white sister, I know people are claiming that she's Jewish and whatever, but let's just assume she is white. As a white sister, I don't want her to be murdered. I don't want her to be maimed. I don't live vicariously through her recklessness. I don't live vicariously through her recklessness that could have gotten not only herself killed, but her little white innocent baby boy killed. I would say never do that again. Never talk like that again. You come up against some anti-white animal like this, you take that baby and you can get out of there. You don't buck up to them. Are you insane? Let me tell you what, if I were the father of that white child, I would have blown my skin stack for putting my white child in danger with some, and this guy's got a record for rape. Well, they dropped the charges. Who knows what else he has a record for? I mean, if you will get with another guy and force a underage female into sex, there's a lot that you're capable of. So these are the people that I was talking to in this tweet. These people who don't give a shit about Shilo Hendrix. These people who don't give a shit about the little white boy that she had with her. And the evidence of them not giving a shit is celebrating the behavior that is at the center of this. This is the destructive element of this whole episode. There's a lot of constructive reasons to support, and we'll touch upon those. This is the destructive. And as I said on my Friday stream about this, I am never going to, I don't do this, first of all, I don't do this for a living. So I don't have to tell the audience, like Mark Dice, I don't have to tell the audience what they want to hear to get the most eyeballs, the most donations, the most money for ads run on my streams. I don't do this for a living. I do this out of love. I do this year after year, enduring the threats on my life from absolute garbage, white shitbags, wignat scum, out of love for our people. That's why I do this. Get money. And I don't blame people who, like Mark Dice, who are, and that's what they do for a living. And we're going to be watching some clips from Mark Dice. And so they have to speak to this. But I mean, it's got to be made clear. What are your motivations? And my motivations could not be more pure and could not be demonstrated more that I am dedicated to the love for our people than having to put up with this sort of shit from low-life garbage in the white race. So every one of you who wants to support her for the reckless behavior, this is what I said to them that got them all angry with me and lying about me across the internet, talking about these people celebrating the behavior that was reckless and foolish. I said they won't experience the repercussions of her behavior. They won't experience the fear that she feels and will feel for a long time for herself and her two children. They didn't have their Social Security stolen, and now, like her, they will have to fear identity theft and the economic and other consequences of a stolen identity. It's endless headaches, crushed credit score, police investigations. They won't have to deal with the property damage, the stalking, the ringing phone with threats, the windows on your home being broken in the middle of the night, the fear of what's in the mailbox every single day. They won't have to move house. They won't have to find a new job, and on and on and on. But they're supposedly the real supporters of Shilo Hendrix. And I said to them, I said, yeah, I get it. For these little dirtbags, you want to be able to call blacks Ners because it's a sexual fetish for you. It is, and it's clearly the case. They're already now making money off of it as a sexual fetish, but from these wignat sewer simps. Already making money. I get it. It's a sexual fetish for you. You are afraid of blacks, and so you want to see somebody say it. And so that's your real motivation. That's why it's important for you. I get it, but fuck you. I actually care about white people. I would much rather. Now, I get in this one unique case, Shilo is going to come out. At least it's not been paid out yet and everything. We're hoping that she's going to come out of this a millionaire, and she's not going to use the money poorly, and she's going to take care of these beautiful babies in a way that there'll be a father for them. Because if they don't have a father present, then they're going to end up like a bunch of these Wignat sewer simps. Or at least that's a possibility. Because their fatherlessness is very evident in their rejection of a moral positioning of a man being a man, a white man being a man. They absolutely reject that. They hate that with a passion. And you can hear it in their voices. You can see it in their faces. These are the scum that intimidate normal white people to have to go in their direction. We are not going to. The Jews are led by the brightest of their community. The white race is led by the dumbest motherfuckers that we can find in the white race. The dumbest ones. I wonder how we ended up in this situation. Clip that, bitch. Clip that and share that with the white race. You want to complain about the Jews? They look to their brightest, their most moral members for guidance on what's best for their community. At least some of them do. The white race, no, sir, no, ma'am. That's not what they do. They come and they show up with the threats and the slanders. And why? Because Jason morally condemns the reckless behavior. Literally writing that in so many words. Literally writing that in so many words, again and again and again. In the responses to me caring about white people in this sense. So, what are the legitimate? What are the illegitimate? The illegitimate support for Shilo is to support the reckless behavior. I get that in this one case, hopefully she's going to come out a millionaire. We'll move away. The kids will grow up. They'll be wonderful people. And they're safe. That's our hope. That's our prayer. And we send positive energy and prayers to make that happen. But what about all of the other Shilo Hendrixes? What about your wife, your daughter, your niece? What about your sons too? Your sister, your brother, what about them? Supporting reckless behavior rather than getting home safely. I would much rather have Shilo in a parallel universe have had this encounter and not incurred the attention of anti-white animals and then not be doxxed, not have her social security number stolen, not have who knows what else they have, which means they'll be able to follow her everywhere, which means wherever she moves, they'll be able to follow. They'll be able to know where she is. She gets any payments, social security number, they'll know. She's not going into witness protection program. The federal government's not going to help her. I would much rather have her, if we really have our druthers, to be in an environment where none of these anti-white predators are located. That's what we are successfully achieving here, is a moral positioning that defeats, in our circles of influence, replicable and scalable tactics and tools that work everywhere so that the Shilos won't have to go to a park where they will be preyed upon by anti-whites. That is what I'm working on. That is what the House of Swash and all of these champions who had to also endure the slanders and the insults from the garbage Wignats. That's what we're actually actively and successfully working on. Until we are there, I don't want the Shilos, this Shilo and any other Shilo out there, to get doxxed, to be stabbed in the heart at the playground, to have the little boy kicked in the face by the adult anti-white who then suffers a brain bleed and dies. What are you going to do for them, Wignat? What are you going to do for them? Nothing. You're going to show up and you're going to say, look at this filthy enter anonymously online. Meanwhile, the child's life is gone. Meanwhile, the white woman is gang raped. You are the filthiest pieces of shit. I can't imagine that there is this sort of resistance in any other race. I'd be willing to talk to people of other races who advocate for their people and see if there's this kind of scum that would lead their people, especially their women and children, into those sorts of outcomes for their own sexual gratification. So, as I said, there are healthy and constructive ways to support this incident. We talked about the destructive way. What are the constructive ways that white people can and are supporting and endorsing this episode with Shilo Hendrix? Well, I think the biggest manifests its way in the incessant fear that white people, the recurring fear that white people have to live with of being socially lynched. We hate living under anti-whiteism. We hate having to constantly be deferential. We hate having to pretend like we have it better than everybody else, when in reality, we and everybody can see that we have it worse. We hate having to pretend that we have all of these, we get preferential treatment when we see that everyone else, especially when it comes to white males, everyone else, including white females, gets preferential treatment at our expense. We hate having to worry about being hauled before anti-white tribunals at our work, in our family circles, with our friend groups, at our universities, at our high schools, intermediate high schools, where we are going to be browbeaten, lambasted, scoured and scourged and ruined by anti-whites. We hate that. We hate living with that lifelong of fear. We teach you here that that's called white noir. It inflicts this white noir throughout our system. It diminishes us physically, mentally, and spiritually. So the fact that white people, seeing this happen to Shilo, are saying, fuck that, and are coming forward and are saying, no, I'm going to sue because I hate being doxxed. I hate the fear. And that's where the doxing comes from, is right out of this social lynching phenomenon in the West, this anti-white social lynching. I hate it so much. And now I've got an opportunity to anonymously push back against it. So I'm going to do it. That's a big positive. You know what is a negative? Is no one coming to the people who have demonstrated the successes to find out the explanation of what's going on for the white race. No, in fact, telling people, don't go over there to the people, to the white people who have had all the successes with receipts. Don't go there. White people also, and this is attendant ancillary to this aspect of a constructive supporting of Shilo Hendrix and her family, is the blowback from white people who just watched Carmelo Anthony murder Austin Metcalf for nothing. Touch me and find out. Something that every white person has heard from a black person. It seems like. Touch me and find out. And they read the comments associated with those contributions, those donations, saying, doesn't matter if he deserved it or not, or you were just defending yourself or not. You just hate white people. We all saw these comments. Rabid anti-white blacks and also anti-whites from other races. don't care. Just a white male, and especially a successful and ascendant white male like me that everybody hates, even the losers in the white race, a la Wignats. So white people read that, witnessed that, saw the anti-white mainstream media condoning that, not condemning that, and now they've got an opportunity to push back. These people, and I submit that the vast majority of people who are supporting Shilo in this episode know not a whole lot about Shilo, but they are motivated by what I just articulated. They hate their own fear that they have to live with, the fear that they have learned by way of entertainment media and witnessing it in reality when it comes to the fruition of actual victimization of our people in punishment for deviating from anti-whiteism. That's why you feel that fear. You see how important the white race, how important it is for the white race, for white people to hear this explanation? Because this empowers white people. But nope, they're not being directed to something that will empower them. The majority of these people supporting this episode, and Shilo Hendrix as a consequence, in blowback, it's something that is, again, this sickness, this anger that you're not allowed to express over anti-whiteism and what it does to ourselves and our lives. These people also don't know or don't have to know much about Shilo Hendrix. It's a pretty white woman with a white baby who is being intimidated by an anti-white black guy at a playground, and he's threatening to dox her and did, and the media's piling on. And so, nope, I'm with Shilo. And that's a constructive way to support her. And that is actually both of those elements we could talk about for a great opportunity to dive into what's happening within the psyche of the white race, individually, in small groups, and collectively. What about at different economic strata? What about, and we could go on and on, exploring that if we had a healthy race. And I could be exploring that to your benefit. I could be using, like Secretariat, the horse, the genetics that were bequeathed to me and the powers of intelligence that were bequeathed to me, that I have chosen with my will to put at the service of my race for our well-being. We could be doing that, but we can't, because the white race doesn't act as collectively as well as some blacks, as some Jews, as some Hispanics, as some Arabs. No, it's tall poppy. Tall poppy. Cut it down. Slander it out of existence. There's another group of people, and of course, like any Kamala Venn diagram, there's some overlaps, that are supporting Shilo just out of their concern for a white mother. And that also is a constructive way to support Shilo Hendrix. If you're feeling any of these that I'm naming now that are the constructive for Shilo, or if you've supported her and her family for those reasons, good on you. Those are healthy. Those are moral. If you felt what was being referred to by some as a reflexive support for her, that's good. If the reflexive, because that in and of itself begs the question, what is the support, the reflexive support based on? If you're a Wignat, the reflexive support is because she acted recklessly at a playground with a black male But if you reflexively supported her because she's a white mother, if you reflexively supported her because you're fed up with the financing of black murderers against white people, if those were the reasons for your reflexive support, then good on you. That's a constructive way to support Shilo and what took place in this episode. Solidarity, white solidarity. You got a lot of people saying this is a great sea change, white solidarity. Well, is solidarity a victory? It is, but it begs the question, what is the solidarity based on? Is it based on the well-being of white people? Is it based on protecting us from anti-whiteism? Or, as is the case with the Wignats, is there solidarity on the use of the word enter? And for many, as you'll see, there's much solidarity on the basis of her using the word enter. In fact, the focus, per the sickness of the white race, once again, is not falling on us, but the black race. The focus is falling on the black race, and people are talking about black fatigue, which is not unique to white people, which means it's interracial. Do we want this scenario to become like when it comes to Jew spurging, being anti-Jew, to be a multiracial event? Or do we want to be focused on our well-being and make this episode into something healthy for all white people? Well, as you can see, as I can see, people all over are chiming in. Non-whites of other races. I'm with you. Call them Enners. I'm with you. They scare me too. We were told that some black people will have hurt feelings because the word means lowly. The word means ugly. The word means nasty things about you. And so white people who have this magical ability to project all of ourselves, we do it so much that we harm ourselves in the process of imagining what non-white people might feel if we had our way, if we had our own country. So if you don't understand white people, shut your mouth. If you're too goddamn stupid to understand, shut your goddamn mouths. That is what motivates us, not to say enter. That's what we're taught. And we inflict it on ourselves as well as anti-whites, because we don't want to have to, with our mirror neurons in our brains, experience the pain that we might inflict on others. You have no fucking clue. You have no clue. Slander me some more. Attack me some more. You're better. That's where it comes from. There's also another place it comes from. A self-serving one, one that you might think a little bit more immediately about, and that is that some blacks will maim and kill you for using it. You don't learn that, though, in the formative years of life. When you're a child and the people who are innocent, people who are good, you innately, because most white people are innately good, innately innocent, we identify with. No, you find that out later. And then it's a nice little cherry on the top to not say enter all day long. Now, because it is socially immoral to say enter, there is an ancillary, and tertiary, maybe at this point in the counting, reason why we don't say enter just everywhere we go. And of course, that reason is that since it's socially immoral, there are negative repercussions for using it. You'll be condemned. The condemnation could extend itself through people at your work wanting to talk to you about using it, people at school, your educational establishment wanting to talk with you about using it. The fact that it's socially immoral, the fact that it's a part of the totality of the spectrum and consequences of anti-whiteism means that you'll be judged by a moral standard rather than the rules that are written, which is important to understand because all of these dumbass appeals to freedom of speech fall on deaf, floppy ears when we're talking about moral judgments. I cannot believe that I have come to the white race with all of this, with all of that works, with the most lucid explanations of things. And this is how I'm treated. That's why we don't say enter. So saying enter does not in any way, shape, or form a platitude, but does not in any way, shape, or form address white guilt. You've done nothing for white guilt. Nothing. I know there's a lot of interest in and a positive interpretation on people showing up to financially gift. And this potentially leading midwits, certainly midgetwits, let's just say everybody shy of genius, from coming to the conclusion that white guilt must be gone. Except everyone doing this, almost every single person, is anonymous. And I submit to you that if we had anonymous ways of financially gifting, as you look back in time, if those anonymous means of financially gifting went back without change as we went back in time with change, you would see these donations being far higher. I wonder if white people in 1965 America were able to financially gift anonymously. I wonder how many dollars would have poured into Governor George Wallace and his coffers. I wonder how many white dollars would have shown up. So, are you witnessing the end of anti-whiteism by white people anonymously donating in 2025? Absolutely not. If Shilo ends up with $1 million from this, Lord, hope she does, she would have ended up with $100 million in 1965. You fucking imbeciles. You haven't overcome shit. So, let's take a look at, we're going to be taking a look at some of your questions and comments. I see there's one specifically from James Dean as well. These people, I'll say, as we look at these other clips and Mark Dice, these people, they hate me and they hate the practice of Go Free because we invalidate what they've invested in. This is the sunk cost fallacy. Our very existence, the fact that anybody can hear from us, invalidates their approaches, what they believe will work, what they have invested themselves in for who knows how long, what they are also just wont to. We all have experienced when we were children, and some of us, this continues through adulthood, but when you're a child, you'll have had these moments where You want something, but you want it a specific way. Oh, no, you can't have it any other way. Yeah, but listen, son, 6-year-old son, you're still getting the thing. Oh, but no, I don't want it in this way. It's got to be another way. And then when you turn 7, you realize, boy, that was dumb when I was 6. I won't do that anymore. Some people never experience that maturing between 6 and 7. They take their puerility throughout the totality of their lives. And you see this neotness behavior, this behavior of the child in the adult in the white race everywhere. No, I don't care if Jason and the entire House of Swash, if they are winning, if they are helping white people, if there is evidence of all of these victories and it's just happening all the time, I don't care, because it doesn't look like the way I want it to look. I submit, now that I've said this to you, you're going to see that everywhere. You'll see that everywhere. And that's where you see this stolidness, where they're like, you've got a big victory there? Don't care, because I just want to be able to say, enter to this fantastical, impossible victory over here. That's what I want it to look like. So I don't care if you can in. And in fact, some of you have experienced this on your own because I've told you to do this. What I'm about to say. I have had conversations with these people, countless, where I've said, if we could end the victimization of white people, but your particular fetish, your particular bent is not going to be served. Are you good with that? And every time they say no. Every time. There was a Twitter space a couple months back I jumped on, and one of these Wignat sewer simps was there. I jumped into the Twitter space and ruined his ass in argument in minutes. Got him to admit that absolutely no, I would not be for, he says, ending the victimization of all white people if it was going to look like that, Jason. No, it's got to look like this, his fetish. Let's have a look at and you'll see here my fears, everything that I was talking about at first, everything I mentioned to you all at first about this, all coming true. Once again, everything that I said is coming out true, is coming out accurate, without taking antithetical positions like others will do that end up getting everything right. What I'm saying is coming true. We're seeing it. And now I guess we can name this fetish, this new slur fetish. Just like I said. Now you got the slur fetish. So let's look then. We had my tweet there. Let's look at this. Anybody know about this? No, because she didn't say the word enter. That's why none of the scum cares. That's why none of these fucking garbage white people care. This white woman was just murdered. She was having an argument with a guy that she was with. This anti-white monster was present, somehow got involved. This white mother then ends up getting murdered, stabbed, Carmelo style. Know about her? Care about her? Hey, Wignat garbage. Have you started a GoFundMe for her? Have you raised, because she didn't say enter. Does it not matter? She didn't say enter when she was murdered, when she lost her. So you don't care about her. So you only care about your fucking fetish. Chicago, this just happened. No GoFundMe to buy Wignats showing up. You know what? There were others. I found more than a handful. I had to stop looking. For a moment, I thought I should just throw up a bunch of white women just murdered in public by anti-whites. And I found a handful. Then I was like, no, it's just going to take too much time. It's going to take too much time to go over all the white women that were just murdered in public by anti-whites that are not getting any support, any attention. How about this? Sam, the Fuentes following Parker, he's out there, and this is what they're now doing with the focus of what happened to Shilo. It's become who says enter best. A competition among these non-white, two different race non-white women and Shilo. It's all about the blacks. Did I tell you about the focus? Did I tell you? This is what they're making it. 360,000 views. Of course, he's pushed because he's a Fuentes follower. This is what they want you to believe is the resistance to our victimization, a focus in this case on being anti-black. So everybody come together. Who says it better? Who says enter better? Is that going to help white people? Of course not. How about this? Did you know that before you were alive, not terribly long before you were alive, but all white people in America referred to black people as enters? Did you know that? Your grandmom said it. Your great-grandmom. If you were alive in America back just a couple generations ago, every white person said it. Your little sister with the retainer who's learning to play the piano, she called them enters. Everyone called them enters in a 90+% white America. And yet, by some twist of fate, calling black people enters didn't protect us. I wonder why. I wonder how we got to this point when every one of us called them enters. Everyone. It was just another word for them. Every single one. And yet, somehow we reached the point where Shilo Hendrix is taking her white little boy to the playground that is no longer safe because it's white erased. And there is a predator who had the pedophilic rape charges dropped in the interest of justice there at the playground, maybe without a child of his own under his tutelage or guidance or safekeeping. Somehow we've reached this point with everybody saying enter. I have nothing but the deepest contempt for all white people out there claiming that, well, just get them all saying enter. We'll fix the problem. Did you know that white people have been getting caught saying enter every year in the news, talking about it everywhere? Some of them even pinky in the airish, sort of well-to-do-ish people. Like this woman from over 6 years ago Nobody seemed to care, though. And for some reason, it didn't recapture our destiny.
I'm not going to say I'm sorry to them because they kept pushing at it. So, and that's all I'd really like to say.
What about your use of the N-word?
I used that word because they forced me into it.
Do you see how that's incredibly offensive?
Yes, I do. That's why I said it.
So white people, this is over 6 years ago, this is not new. White people using the word "enter" with obviously relation to blacks is not new. It's said by whites of different classes when they get angry enough with the behavior. This is not new. This is not suddenly the end. I mean, if it was going to be, let me ask you, if it was going to be the end of white guilt or our victimization, or it was going to be the kickoff of white solidarity, it was going to be the start of it. And I got something to say about that. It would have happened with her. Shit. She's well-spoken, a beautiful Southern accent. Yes, I did. And that's why I said it. It was offensive to them. I mean, come on. And yet we have people, and it's most shameful that in this community, all of the debt, all of the service that I paid to the white race, and we had people who are sort of orbiters. They're not really in the community. I've got to mention this because fuck them. And I'm not apologizing for the bad language there. I genuinely, deeply mean it. And this one female, for example, of several who are kind of orbiters, and they need to just continue to orbit into oblivion at this point. After being here for years and seeing all of the victories, this female said, this Shilo Hendrix saying enter is the beginning. Now it's happening. And she said to me, Jason, you don't understand. This is the beginning. It's going to be messy, and it's not going to be like a really cold and analytical because it was an accident that we were conquered, right? It's not going to be thinking and strategizing everything. It's going to be wild. Like, this is the beginning. This is a female who was present for a Canadian court adjudicating that the Go Free practice was safe for white children, and so returned the child to the mother. That's not the beginning. This is a woman who was present for a Aurora Police Department changing an anti-white policy, using our lexicon and strategies to end that anti-white policy. That's not the beginning. Getting Donald Trump to say that anti-whiteism is a problem in the country that can't be allowed either. But that's not the beginning. That's not the start of it. Shilo Hendrix recklessly endangering herself and child, saying enter. That's the beginning. Fuck you. Fuck you. This woman said it with class. This woman, I mean, whatever you want to think about Shilo, this Shilo was like, blah, 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 enter. This woman is like, yes, I said that, and I did it because it's offensive. That's how this woman delivered it. She went right up to them and called them that. Not only that, let me just point out, this woman said it to two large black females. And I have to wonder if Shilo would have been so brave if there had been a big ass black woman there that would have absolutely been inclined to throw down on another female. Maybe she wouldn't have used that word. Maybe if There had been some gigantic she there, and it was her kid, maybe Shilo wouldn't have said it. I don't know. Maybe she would have. I mean, she's been arrested for brawling and I guess convicted of that. This woman went right up to the two black women and said it. Why? Because they were being too loud. Because they were just ruining our white space, our white environment. Shut the fuck up. Saying what every white person thinks when they are just screaming and cackling and ruining the placidity of the way that we like our environments. Shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear you yelling and cackling. And this white woman went right up to them and called them that. And she said, and that's why I said it, because it is offensive. That's why I said it. No revolution. But guess what? The nerve center of the Republican Party used this word in conversation in the 80s. Revolution? I think not. Lee Atwater's infamous 81 interview on the Southern strategy. We can't play the interview. We can't play the conversation because this fella uses the word enter over and over, and he is the brains of the Republican Party at the time. He's talking about getting votes and how they have to talk to the population and how the way they talk to the population has changed. He's like, you can't say enter anymore. 20 years ago, you used to be able to go to the public and say enter, 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 enter. He literally says this. The thinking, the nerve center of the Republican Party. How did we get to where we are today, where Shilo Hendrix has to deal with this, with her little white baby at the playground? When the people were using this word everywhere. So you'll have to look this up for yourself to hear the brains, the nerve center of the Republican Party, 1981. And this guy's just rolling. But somehow anti-whiteism and white guilt are still present. Not only that, but it's gotten worse. Anti-whiteism and white guilt's gotten worse somehow. What else do we have here? Well, I started off talking about how vociferous the Wignat sewer simps are, and how even though I believe the vast majority of people are supporting Shilo Hendrix because she is a white mother, she was threatened, she's suffering that exact same social lynching that the people who are supporting her experience. I believe the vast majority of the people supporting are of this good mind, are of this positive bent. It's too bad that they can't hear from me and us because of all the scum. Too bad. Because the scum is doing this. This is one of the Fuentes accounts that gets massive views and is pushed on Twitter because they want you to believe that's the resistance. And they are building what they call N towers, where each donor will add a new letter to the word enter because it's so original and fresh, because it's so young and hip and hard and with it. We just heard from Atwater. We just heard from the old lady, the old white lady using it. It's so raw and real and with it. And only those who are truly on the edge are going to say it. 1981, Atwater. Old lady over 6 years ago. That's how raw and real and original it is. So building N towers over there. Just a tiny speck of the voluminous evidence of the conversation about Shilo Hendrix in that episode turned into a focus on the aggressive, bad behavior of black people and a multiracial condemnation of that, and the notion that by saying enter, you defeat white guilt, you defeat anti-whiteism, and it all is interesting how that focuses us once again into an avenue that will bear no fruit for us. We are having all these victories, personal victories for people over here, communal victories. No focus here, but another focus on another ignoble, despicable, asinine approach to our victimization that will yield nothing of benefit. End towers. He's like, yeah, we got 12,000 total in end towers this time. The biggest end tower, they just wrote enter over and over and over again. What power, man. I got to also say this before the next clip, and we're watching Dice. I got to say this. I hope I have the OnlyFans type woman. I think we do. I think that's next. If you have some sort of issue with yourself and the word enter, that it brings you like some sort of release, you're fucked up. And I'm not talking about this word as like saying something immoral. I've never viewed it that way. I was told, like all of you, that it could hurt some black people's feelings. And I empathized with that. But I thought that's on them for their interpretation. That was just whether that was fortuitous, whatever it was. That was my thought when I was a child. That's on them. They shouldn't interpret it as being hurtful. I wasn't thinking about races. I wasn't thinking about the fight for white well-being. It wasn't a thought process like that at all. It was like my thought process was, if somebody calls me a name I don't like, then the pain is with my interpretation, not in them. That was just my thinking when I was taught this about the word enter. So I never had like this moral blanketing around this word, and immoral if you use it. And it amazes me that there are all of these sewer simps that are out there in some sort of ejaculatory glow over the use of this ugly word. And by the way, it is an ugly word. If I would never say the word for just how unlovely it is, how ugly it is. For that, if that was the word existed, it was out there, and it could mean anything else. It could mean the temperature in the swamp. I would say, oh, I'm never using that word for it. It's just an ugly word. And obviously that's why it's applied to this group. And it is this group of people behaving in a ugly way. Not what you'll see, and I guarantee you so many of these wignats, if they were put on the spot by their moms or by their employer at McDonald's, and they said, hey, did you say enter? They would say, oh, well, any race can be an enter. It's about behavior, because they're cowards. But if you really have this sort of ejaculatory glow over the use of the word, you are fucked up. I mean, you are really mental. I can't imagine a word that would get me off so much. And that, of course, feeds into this fetish, this slur fetish that we're seeing now. And why don't we have a look at it? Here it is. I am not going to be able to play this fetish. These people scrolling here on the screen, I will mute it, and so you can see, and the people are all like based, real, and you know they've got their pants off. And already they're talking about, was it right here? Look at this. First comment underneath of this, and this is a white female, and this is purported to be following Shilo, and this episode that she had with this Omar, and this is a white female saying, "Wow, you can make $1 million off this. I will do it one better." So another grift is born, and of course, who is the biggest in recent memory? Lily Gaddis, who said she was going to raise her child Sig Heiling Adolf Hitler. I'm sure that will go good for his future. I can guarantee you he's going to be another one of the offspring of these people who turn on their parents. Mark my words. It's far more than half of the children of these people become anti-white and hardcore anti-white. But I want you to look at this. And I'm talking about like the interracial, multiracial aspect of it. Look at this guy. He says, "The following is a concern for my wife and I." This is not directly tied to the video above, but concern regarding grifters. Unfortunately, women within our sphere, writes Tomo with a Japanese last name. Within our sphere. Is that the anti-Jew, anti-black sphere? Unfortunately, women within our sphere are advising OnlyFans prostitutes to exploit our movement for profit. Can you believe it? Women now, or people, are advising the managers who manage dozens and dozens apiece of whore content creators on sex sites, not just OnlyFans, but other ones, are saying, hey, head on over to the anti-black, anti-Jew, multiracial groups and say all the slurs they want and get them off and make all the money you can. Real path to victory here for the white race. He says, we need to vet each individual before donating. So in, I guess, the anti-Jew, anti-black, multiracial spheres, this Japanese guy and his wife are saying, we need to vet these white whores coming in who are saying, enter, 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 K word, K word, K word. She says both like 100 times. We need to vet them and make sure. So let me ask you wignats out there. Which of the white females showing up today and in the days to come saying enter and K, Ike, which of them will you be making a millionaire? Because you're going to run out of dough real quick. Kind of like this was a non-starter from the very beginning and Jason told you that. And then you decided, even after orbiting our community for years and years, seeing all the victories, you're like, this is the way to go. So let's have just a brief.
No, this is my last stream ever.
So she's doing one of these. I'm not going to do anymore to get attention. And then let's see. Maybe what? There, she just said it. There, she's yelling it. Look at her mouth. Look. She's saying it over and over and over. Call the blacks out. The one wrote. Based. Clip this. Laugh my ass off. Smiling faces. Based, another one writes. Don't care. We love you. This white whore. Look, she's just screaming enter at the camera. She's literally says it like 100 times. She says K Kerr many times as well. This is what this has engendered. I want you to keep a close eye on this. For all of the people out there who are talking about other aspects of Shilo Hendrix and what's look at this fucking freak. Keep this in mind. that this is what this actually is. And we also get into the lesson of the day, which of course is focused on two things: this new slur fetish showing up on the sex sites, and which is not a surprise. When you see the other things that guys will pay enormous, do you think that Indians in India will pay? Oh, they're going to pay. Will pay to hear blacks slandered with that? Oh, they're going to pay. And this will morph and make white women rich. This will morph into slandering other groups of people. And you'll find out that there'll be blacks showing up to pay to be slandered like this. Oh, you didn't know? These kinds of fetishes already exist. This verbal abuse already exists as a sexual fetish. So your white power movement is really going to be strong with blacks and Indians and Hispanics and Jews all in it, all paying for and pleasuring themselves to the slurs of the day. White females are going to be out there on sex sites specializing in slurring different groups. So let me show you one of the guys, and these are, I looked at two. I didn't go, the vast majority is the reason I didn't go looking at these people is they are totally anonymous. The vast majority of the Wignat sewer simps slandering me, telling folks, saying the most revolting lies imaginable. Things like one of the ones I just read was, don't listen to No White Guilt, and then writing Jason Cohen, and this person not showing their identity. Who knows what their identity is? Not showing their identity. Don't listen to him because he's a coke addict, and he wrote, may be a pedophile, but I don't have a way to confirm that yet. Like, you can confirm coke addict. These are the kind of repulsive shits slandering the lucidity of what I just shared with you. Full focus and love on the white race. Here's one of them, shared his face on his media, so I'll share so you can see what they look like. That's what that piece of shit looks like. I'm not going to tell you his name. He's sharing his images on his own social media. So this is not doxing. Nobody try to find him to get back at him. Leave him alone. I'm not going to give you any information to find him, but this is one of them. Take a good look at the kind of people that are slandering the good work that we are doing here. Looks like a real upright citizen, doesn't it? How about this audio? I'm not going to play the whole audio for you, but this is audio that one of these guys trying to get others to listen to on a social media platform tagged me in so that I could hear it. Listen to this piece of shit.
It's pretty hilarious that this Jewish Jason Cohen piece of shit runs around calling himself No White Guilt.
Listen to the sound of this upstanding character spreading endless lies to get people not to heed, whites not to heed the medicine for our victimization. This guy, Jason Cohen, calls himself No White Guilt. I mean, you just can tell. Big time education. Upstanding moral citizen.
Jews aren't white, you faggot.
Now, these are his words, and they're not mine. I reject this guy completely. His use of these slurs that he just used.
Second of all his cult ever does on...
Okay, now, pay close attention, because this is the type of person, this is the mentality of people that are calling you a cult. Remember, you have to speak with the Wignat language. You have to show the Wignat imagery, and you cannot deviate, or you are in a cult. This is the kind of low-life shit, loser, uneducated, low-life loser that is calling you a cult. So every time they show up on social media and they're like, you're just in a cult, it's this guy.
His behalf is trying guilt white people.
Try to guilt white people
into supporting him instead of this beautiful Hendrix mother.
This beautiful Hendrix mother. I did not alter this one iota. I don't have to. This is how dumb this guy is. But listen to this. You're going to like this. Back it up just a notch.
Beautiful Hendrix mother. I have no idea how to pronounce that first name.
It's Shilo, you dumb motherfucker. It's Shilo, you uneducated, inbred dumb motherfucker.
Because I've only read it, I haven't heard anybody say it.
This is the kind of shitbag that's out there chugging 7-Up. And then when you ask him, hey, what's that that you're drinking there? And he's like, he looks at the can and he's like, I don't know exactly how to say it because I've only ever read it. I haven't heard anybody say it. Has a strange first letter to it. The Tree Godfather's here. He says, if she had used anti-white instead of enter, we wouldn't have heard another word about this. 100% true. He says, tell me I'm wrong. Anybody tell the Tree Godfather how he's wrong about that. None of these people would have given a shit. None of these Wignats, sewer simps would be threatening my welfare. If this woman had said they wouldn't have given a shit about her. I mean, they didn't give a shit about all of these other white women in the news getting murdered or saying enter, and they weren't in this guise as Shilo Hendrix. No, nobody cares. No, if she said anti-white, focusing on the opposition, on not being, or on being rather anti-us, they don't care. The Wignats, they get off. What they're concerned with, and this is why focus is so important, what they're concerned with is hating Jews, hating black people. The anti-whites are right about them in that. That's all they care about. You get the president to say there's a problem in the country with anti-whiteism, crickets. Some woman nobody knows that has no power says enter, and they got their pants off in 2 seconds. So true, Godfather, Tree Godfather. Gnostic truth. We mustn't let any form of lowering of the bar of white well-being, as it will not help. We should be pure as possible. Precisely. We have to stick with the tools that work. I guess the question from James Dean is not going to be posted again. If anybody knows what that question was, let me know so I can speak to it. Revolutionary Frog is here. Tor Hund is here. Eva is here. Cool Papa J Magic. Now that's a powerhouse. All right, let me look over here. We got a bunch of comments. I'm not going to be able to speak to all of them right now on the live chat because we got to keep this moving. But let's see over here. On Twitter. And let's look at the Twitter. I'm going to look at real quick at the Twitter live chat. And why would I be doing that? What am I looking for at the moment when I look at the Twitter live chat? What I'm looking for is, are there normal people who are supporting Shilo for one of the productive reasons we articulated that are saying, damn right, man, I'm 100% for Shilo. What's that first name? 100% for Shilo because of one of those productive reasons you gave? Or are we going to be seeing rank criticism by Wignat sewer simps with their pants around their ankles and their midget sticks hanging out, condemning me for not supporting her, for saying enter? Could you imagine that where we are today, where you can support Shilo Hendrix for productive reasons and be absolutely slandered and threatened for not supporting her, for saying enter, the most reckless thing she could do and endanger herself and child? All right, apparently James Dean was being combative, saying he doesn't hear a solution. We have them every week. We have successes every week in the lives of people, James, using the tools and arguments. All of those tools and arguments are replicable and scalable. Are you able to compute that? Are you able to, if they can do it in their lives and others can do it in their lives, and we can, do you know what scalable means? Do you know what replicable means? That means everybody, and it's working in Norway, in Sweden, in the UK, in Australia. It's worked in New Zealand. It's worked in white populations in Central and South America. It's working all over the United States and in Canada. If you still say, I don't see how that works, then you're probably one of the ones who can't spell 7-Up, who can't read 7-Up. I can't make this simpler for the absolute vegetables out there. And regrettably, we have to have vegetables. We have to have the left side of the bell curve in the white race like everybody else. I can't make it more simple than that. That's as simple as it gets. So, James, if you were being combative and you were being an ass and you were just trying to concern troll, then that's my response for you. If, on the other hand, you're brand new and you're like, how does this work? Rather than, I can't see how this works. Well, then take this in the light of me getting incessantly slandered and understand that you're going to have to wade through a little bit of my legitimate and righteous anger over all of these decades of hard work being flushed continually down the toilet by white people who are not the secretariats of our race, like me. And you might say, boy, that's really arrogant. Well, then, fuck you. It's the truth. This is working. What am I supposed? Am I supposed to be like Edison and be like, no, actually, I don't want to have any of this patented because might make some people out there feel like they aren't as intelligent as me, as efficient, as creative, as industrious, as tenacious. My whole team here that I have here, we have a team here of brilliant people. Edison had a team of brilliant people all contributing. We're not going to patent this and put it out on the market because tards out there might think we're arrogant. The white population was much healthier back then. And they were all like, wow, that guy's amazing. That team is amazing. But let's see, Princess Noodles is over here. Noodly victories for white well-being. Good to see you. Daughter of Eve is back. Good to see you. She says, you have good advice, Jason. To say the least. Arden Party is over here. A lot of people don't know. There's a red nose on the Canadian flag, hidden by the leaf. Well, I didn't know that either. To mean that it's clown world? All right. We got to get to Dice so we can keep this moving along. There's the Arden Party. He's a brilliant guy, too. You should check his work out. Let's see what Dice had to say. And you all know that we celebrated King Dice to the moon. I coined the name King Dice, and this entire community took it up because King Dice started using anti-whiteism, and that encouraged so many who looked to him and his popularity to use anti-whiteism, and we are forever grateful. But some people who are orbiters of this community thought that they were going to throw dice in my face because I criticized the reckless endangerment of herself and white baby and criticized the people who were celebrating that reckless endangerment. And they threw Mark Dice in my face and they said, see how wrong you are? King Dice thinks this way. What's wrong with you? In so many words. I won't forget you for that. So let's take a look. I want to tell you as we start off here that Mark Dice, just like our other brother that we love so much and we champion, Nicholas DeSanto, are entertainers. Now, I think DeSanto also has income. So he doesn't do comedy for his job to live and pay for his family. But if he did, it would be even more understandable. But for both of these gentlemen, bringing in income for themselves and their families, they need to be able to speak to the largest number of folks. The more eyeballs, the more money from the adverts that run on their videos. The more eyeballs, the more chance there are to find financiers that will finance them to continue making their content. And I have never, you all have heard me forever, I've never held it against anyone to make a living. That would be totally immoral to do. I only condemn the anti-whiteism. But these orbiters of our community who thought that they would throw dice in my face, who thought that they would grab a bunch of links from Dice and others and then throw them up at me, like, look how wrong you are. Where at? What platform? What platform did he do that? Okay, thank you. Where was I? They have to speak to their audiences, which means since the most vociferous and verbally violent are out there demanding a particular focus, that they have to not offend them, because they know that that group will attack their audience, will slander them, will tell everybody not to listen and watch them. I don't care about that because I don't do this for my living. I do this because I love my people. I want to end our victimization, especially for our babies, our children. So that's understandable that they would do that. And then as I listened to Mark Dice, I realized Mark Dice was not saying what these people said he was saying. Nevertheless, we'll dig into it. Somebody named Cobra. Just speak to this real quickly. All right, somebody called Cobra said, Dice coined anti-whiteism. You are a limp dick, midget stick, unaware, tarred vegetable. We have the video of Mark Dice the very first time he used anti-whiteism. He pulled up one of our websites. The website used the definition from this book, you fucking piece of shit, you jealous little wig gnat, tiny dick loser. He used the definition from this book on his screen to introduce it to his audience, written years and years and years before. Look, you jealous loser bitch. This is what it is, folks. You're seeing it once again. So this Wignat loser, totally ignorant, is saying that comes in and makes an assertion with no proof just to try to defame me and this community. That's what he was doing. He's got no proof. He didn't look in. He didn't look at the publication date of this edition. Even this edition. He didn't go look that up, because if he did, he would have seen that this edition was out before Dice mentioned anti-whiteism. Dice himself went on Alex Jones, and Alex Jones said, that's really brilliant, anti-whiteism. Did you coin that? And Dice said, no, but I'm popularizing it. Dice himself. So this is how they operate. Don't listen to the no white guilt guy. Don't listen to the guy who does this for love for our people. Don't listen to the guy who's created the tools that free us from the prison of anti-whiteism. And what excuse can I come up with to get people to not heed this guy that I'm so jealous of? Start yourself, motherfucker. Start yourself to the end of time. What excuse can I give? Oh, I'll say that Jason stole this. I almost said purloined, but this fucking tard would not know what that word meant. Jason stole. He didn't make up anything. He just stole it all. He stole it from Dice. That's the excuse he's going to use to go out and speak with these other Wignat sewer simps. These people need to be held responsible for the harm that they're doing to our people by getting in the way of these tools reaching our people. Fuck you, you piece of shit. You are the lowest form of life. Fuck you. Absolutely. You and your mother and your father and anybody who ever cared about you, because they don't care about you anymore. Fuck all them too. Your wife, your children, fuck all them too. What are you going to do now? Meanwhile, this piece of shit is typing that while his wife is his boyfriend. And yeah, I said that right. His boyfriend. And then, after slandering me yet again, then he gets called out, and then he's like, all you do is insult. You just fucking insulted me. You crankish little bitch. Go watch your boyfriend fucking your wife better than you can. You're wanted. She's calling you in the room. You're wanted. Get off the computer. Get off your phone. Get back in there and watch your boyfriend do her better than you. Now that that's settled.
And this test will determine who actually does support free speech and is against anti-whiteism, and who...
Beautiful use of anti-whiteism. Thank you, Mark. Not only that, but here comes in the absolutely defeatable, for many generations, abstraction. Now, of course, Mark has to use this, whether he wants to or not. And that abstraction, free speech. Free speech has been used for the totality of our ruination and collapse. We should be able to say, free speech. Remember, we talked about that earlier. What's written doesn't matter, because all things are evaluated from the moral perspective. Now, why does Mark have to use free speech, this abstraction, whether he agrees with it or not? Because the vast majority of Mark's audience, the people who will pay, the people who will show up to drive up his ad money, which is a good thing. I want him to make lots of money. They are there to hear that it's a free speech issue. That's what his audience wants to hear. It's like when DeSanto has to tell a joke. He's got to speak in the language that the audience knows. He couldn't be a good vessel for introducing a lot of the lexicon. He has to use so much of what everybody else is doing. He could sew in anti-white here or there, as he has, but otherwise has to speak in the language that they speak.
Who is a neocon, conservative Inc., establishment media coward? This woman, Shilo Hendrix, was captured on video, purportedly in a park in Minnesota, using the little N-word, which we all know hurts a lot of black people's feelings, and oftentimes doesn't really hurt their feelings. They just pretend it does. They use that as leverage to try to gain power over white people because of their black fragility. And every time this happens, you know.
Again, this is something that black fragility he's come up with, and we in this community don't use it because it puts the focus in the wrong place. Their misbehavior toward us is not their fragility. That's focusing on them. It's an understandable error because that derivative thought would come from the antecedent thought, which is that whites are fragile. And this is an inversion within the anti-white narrative. Mark Dice is an entertainer. I am a revolutionary. So there's obviously going to be some differences of opinion, and that's fine.
What the twits on TikTok do, they spend their entire day and week trying to identify the individual and then dox them, publish their personal information, call their employer, harass them, and then get them fired, and try in every way possible to
That is anti-white lynching.
ruin their life. But not this time. White people are fighting back, along with many assimilated non-white people who view themselves as Americans, not hyphenated Americans, and don't see everything through a racial lens, because she set up this
Multiracial?
Send Go page, assuming that this is actually her. And these sites are very good about making sure that the money actually goes to the person who it's supposed to go to, so there's not fraud being committed, because there's a lot of money involved in these crowdsourced.
By the way, as we're moving through this quickly, I sped him up just a tiny bit. As we're moving through this quickly, and I think he might mention it in a little bit of the other video we're going to watch. I didn't really have time to pay attention. I was very busy. I cut a tree down yesterday. I'm still sick, but here I am for white well-being. But to mention that Give Sin Go is probably done. Everybody is saying now that the credit card processor and the prospective processors don't want anything more to do with this. So this giant fundraiser might be the end of being able to fundraise this way for white people who are suffering social lynching. Is it worth it? Wouldn't it have been nice if she had said, "You anti-white piece of shit," and then got paid $1 million? Wouldn't it have been nice? Just like you can say at work, I can say at work, you can say at school that you object to anti-white things. But yeah, let's destroy Give, Send, Go so that it can't be a part of financing white people who are socially lynched in the future. That's awesome. Why is it, by the way, that Give, Send, Go is now facing the reality of having to shutter the business? Well, because the comments are not filled with, we stand against this anti-white lynch mob. We are opposed to people being doxxed. We want to protect this woman and her white babies. We want to get her to someplace safe, away from the threats. No, that's not what's in the comments. What's in the comments are celebration and uses of the word enter. And the processor put pressure on Give, Send, Go. And so they had to take down the comments, I believe. Let's proceed, though. I mean, yeah, it's worth it, right? It's worth it so that we can have a multiracial use of an anonymous use of enter, because that's what changes everything. None of these people, I challenged a bunch of these Wignat scum. I challenged them. Are you going to post a video tomorrow on X, the ones attacking me, of you going up to a fully grown, healthy black male, or several of them, calling them enters, showing your face, showing them, to show how it's changed everything. The white guilt is gone now. It's been defeated. This is what's got to be done. Everybody's got to be safe. Are you going to do that? Not a single one did that. What a surprise.
Pages on Give, Send, Go, which is an alternative to GoFundMe, which wouldn't allow such thing. GoFundMe, you may recall, banned Kyle Rittenhouse's page, and then his legal team set up.
By the way, let's point out, let's not miss that Kyle Rittenhouse needed to go to Give, Send, Go to get money for his defense. There won't be, potentially, is what we're looking at, a Give, Send, Go for the Kyle Rittenhouses of the future. Might be you. You might have to use a firearm to defend yourself and take someone's life, or otherwise be embroiled and need a Give, Send, Go. But if it shutters over this, it's worth it that you go to prison and you can't fundraise.
A page on Give, Send, Go, which really then put this site on the map. And so Shilo Hendrix has a page here to support and protect her family, because when someone gets doxxed and gets as the target of the TikTok mob, all kinds of unimaginably horrible things happen. And so she set the goal, I think, pretty low. But as always, people just keep raising the goal as the money keeps raising as well. And so the goal is $250,000. And she has.
Let's point out that I believe that the first goal she set, and Viva Frey, I think he said that it was originally set at 10,000. And then immediately changed to 20,000. And then as it rocketed, so she had originally said 10,000 and then switched it to 20,000 as the money comes pouring in, and then jumped it way up to 200,000. And then after that to $1 million. I don't mind. I want her to go and succeed for her children and herself. But I don't know. Is there a money angle to this? Once you see that, I mean, are you bilking people? Dare I ask? Are you bilking people for money when you actually need X amount of dollars to achieve X, Y, or Z? Are you bilking them? It's kind of like an institution that never allowed me to speak at it, never did an interview, never wrote an article on the successes. And there were a couple of very close successes to this institution. And they fundraise in a big way over the years, big fundraising, a couple of big successes from this. Never an article about those successes with our strategy. And then a Jew comes along and gives this organization over $1 million, and I'll have to look back exactly to see what it was. And they turn around and they spend it all on something maybe frivolous, maybe to finance them transitioning away from talking about race and into some other line of business. Isn't there something dirty about that? You have been living off of your donors for just decade after decade. You've been begging money off of them, and these people have just been paying. And then somebody comes along and is like, here is $1 million+ dollars. Isn't it your duty at that point to turn around and say, no more fundraising? Thank you, everybody who has been loyal to us and the work that we've done. We've got all the money we could ever need. So I don't know. I would feel like I would be thinking about the people financially gifting as well. That's all I'm saying. I mean, if we close in on $1 million, is it going to get raised again?
It's raised so far $205,000 because obviously people are just tired of people getting canceled for using a little word. Here's the video and what happened before this purported Somali refugee started videotaping her and harassing her for using the little word.
And as far as my point is concerned, my position is concerned, no white person should be socially lynched for anything. Now, what's more important? Not being socially lynched for standing up for the white race? If you're at work and you stand up and you say there shouldn't be any anti-whiteism in hiring and promotion at this job. I'm working my ass off. I've got a wife and so many kids at home I'm trying to pay for. And every time I turn around, you are not hiring me or not promoting me because I'm a white male. So is that more important than and being socially lynched for that versus socially lynched for saying enter? I don't think there's any comparison. But in my opinion, no white person should be socially lynched for deviating from anti-whiteism in any fashion.
She's in the park with her child, and another child came over and allegedly stole something out of her bag. And so she called the child a little word that hurts a lot of people's feelings.
You called him a child? Did you call the child a word? It is my own business. You call him a Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
You voted for it. You got it.
Oh.
America is booming. Quickly growing.
Here is why Mark Dice, and nothing wrong with this, but here it is. The more people that watch this video, the more money Mark makes off of this commercial. And good for him. I want him to become a millionaire. I really like the guy. I really would be very happy for him. He always talks about being a guy in his kitchen on his computer. I would rather have him in a palatial home. But you can't forget that entertainers are going to have to take a different line than a revolutionary like myself.
Energy demand with an all-of-the-above approach will make good on President Trump's promise to restore American.
Okay. All right, that's what
She
you
just
said.
said it again and again and again. Oh, well. Some people may be saying that she's a terrible person for calling a child that little word, but how is that really any different than just calling the child a brat? It's like sometimes, every once in a while, you can't help but swear. Even if you're around kids, you drop something and it breaks, and you're like, oh, please. You're not really thinking, it just kind of comes out because you're frustrated. And that's what she was. So, big deal. And when the black male Karen pulled out his phone and started pestering her, instead of apologizing and groveling and pleading with him for forgiveness, she just doubled and quadrupled it down.
And again, part of the windfall here is the blowback. The windfall for Shilo is the blowback. What did they see? They saw Jeff Metcalf apologizing as anti-white as he could be, saying that the anti-white, non-white murderer of his son, if it ends up being that way, who knows what they're going to find at this point, just made a mistake. And this is a salient contrast, isn't it? So the timing here is immensely relevant for what I'm asserting is the vast majority of the support for Shilo. The vast majority of the support for Shilo is not these wignats saying it's all about saying enter.
Somebody digging to
A little kid just did.
that little kid, you call him a the little child?
What if he acts like one? He's gonna.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So,
Oh, are you chasing him? Well, yeah, he stole her stuff, she said.
so that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act.
That's what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for
There's
this.
no such thing as hate speech. Hate speech.
What is GSG, Tree Godfather? There is, unfortunately, such a thing as hate speech. It isn't codified in a specific law that these words, but it doesn't need to be. Anti-whites will codify it into law as part of the error of their victory, and then it will be drawn back. It probably will happen several times before their victory is so complete that they can codify it in law and leave it there. But they don't need it codified in law. It is indeed a real thing in the lives and in the heads. There's real punishments. There are real murders. There's real, etc. But Mark Dice audience, a lot of conservatives. And that's how they think. That's how they talk. It's not a law, so it can't be, you can't suffer for it. I've broken no law. Well, I've been listening to conservatives say that kind of garbage for decade after decade after decade, and the old timers said it, and where did it get them? It's like John Birch Society inanity just goes on forever.
It's free speech.
I don't give a Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
So we'll see about that, he says, what the internet says about you. So, of course, he posted that in order to get her doxxed, to get her canceled. And that's why so many people are having her back and have donated over.
He's totally right about that. Totally right.
For $200,000.
Looks like he's agreeing with me.
So far, this hasn't made any mainstream media when I'm recording this late on Thursday night. But later this morning,
Yeah, if it was Thursday night, I was on Friday. So I didn't see this. People were throwing it into my face.
This afternoon, this weekend, it very well may, because once the liberal media catches wind of this, that people are standing up for this woman and that she raised this much money, they're going to absolutely lose their mind. The woman has quickly become an icon, standing up for free speech and mocking black fragility. As you can see, she is now a meme. Others are making memes about the incredible support that she's receiving through the Give, Send, Go page.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah!
Because people are tired of lunatics like this who live online, dedicate their days to try to ruin other people's lives.
In that meme, for example, you see two guys celebrating. What are they celebrating? Depends on your perspective. Why did you support Shilo? You see? So when you're looking out there at what this is, what this episode is, you're viewing it through your perspective. And if the wignats are in your face telling you that in that meme, if they're incessantly in your face telling you they're celebrating because she said enter, then that is what becomes the common understanding of what took place. When, as I say, I don't believe that the vast majority of people who are supporting her are celebrating and are giving because of that aspect of it.
Lives when they're captured on video using a little word.
Share. I'm trying to find the woman who called the little boy the N-word, the 5-year-old little boy, artistic boy.
Oh, no.
Did you just hear what she said too? It's a little sped up. She says he's an artistic little boy. It is autistic. It is autistic. The artistic little boy. He might be artistic. I don't know. I can't draw for shit.
They're saying that he's autistic, which may or may not be true. Most likely, it's like the game of telephone. It just starts morphing into a bigger and more fake story. So now he's an autistic boy.
She needs to be found and locked up.
Oh, now she needs to be arrested and thrown in jail. She says, imagine.
By the way, remember, we started this with the article, and they are talking about the kind of charge that she can have applied to her as a consequence of this. More suffering she will experience that all of these wignat sewer simps are not going to experience as they celebrate and encourage more of the behavior. So who actually cares about Shilo? Once again, not these fucking shitbags that'll say, if you're not supporting her, then you're not a real pro-white advocate. It's actually me who cares about her and all of the other Shilos out there.
Having such a pathetic life yourself that you're dedicating your time in order to trying to find who this woman is so that you can hopefully get her arrested. Because
what's the problem with this woman? She's anti-white. I couldn't care less in our story. It means so little that I don't even blink about who she came, what leg she came between to get here. None of that matters to me, because my focus is on us.
Because she called a kid a little name after he stole something from her. These same losers got Lily Gaddis fired, the cute white girl who was making a cooking video and then said the little N-word, not to be mean, not to offend anybody, but just, using some ghetto black slang, trying to be cool.
Now, I don't know how deeply, since Dice is so busy, I don't know how deeply he has actually looked into Lily Gaddis. His contact with awareness of her might just be, hey, some mid-attractive female was baking a cake and said that all of their boyfriends are poor or broke ass. And that's all Dice knows about her. And then she got fired and then etc. But we know that she is a grifter who has changed positions and followed the money with that big nose of hers, even into circles where they hate women and they hate her. She's out there like worshiping as much as she can the Fuentes and the others in the panoply of that circle, that sphere, to try to get a few dollars out of it. And it wasn't accidental. She was making other videos before this, trying to get attention for herself and everything, and then she hit upon the grift. As you can see, lots are hit. She was an early starter. By the way, she probably is deep down, wouldn't say it, but probably really angry that she got 15 minutes of fame, a lot of hatred, simp armies surrounding her that support her, and not a lot of money. And she's watching Shilo rake in $1 million. There's probably some jealousy there. This is not a champion of the white race, okay? This is a female grifter, a dilettante, repeating what others say, showing her breast off, although she barely has any bread. They're not very nice at all. But showing off her wares to try to make $1.
Middle of her TikTok video, and they spent several days doxing her and trying to ruin her life. Black fragility got so out of control that baseball player Barry Bonds posted on Twitter after seeing a video that went viral of some students at his daughter's high school singing along to a famous rap song and using a lyric that contained the little N-word that he posted on social media denouncing it, saying that he just couldn't believe such a thing was happening at his daughter's school, where kids were singing along to a rap song. When students are singing along to a rap song that contains the little N-word, and they say the little N-word, it shouldn't matter at all. It certainly shouldn't make headlines across the country. Oh my God, a video of students rap.
You see, he's doing this beautifully. He's a fantastic entertainer. He is literally speaking at this moment for his audience. They're saying to themselves, I should be able to say enter. I shouldn't lose my job for say. Why is this word stopping me? Why make me lose my job and thrown out of my family and thrown out of school? I should be able to. He's literally speaking what these destructive thought patterns are in people's heads. He's an entertainer. For those idiots that thought this was some great refutation of the hard and long work, all the sacrifices I've given for the white race, fuck you all to hell. You're fucking tards, vegetables. You're late to the game. And it's never going to get better. I'm sorry God made you stupid. It's not my fault.
Creates controversy at elite Brentwood School. Oh no. Remember when Kendrick Lamar brought a white fan on stage during one of his concerts to rap along to one of his songs? She used that little word, which again, Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring. In case you haven't heard, he did step down, resign from that position. He still is with the company. He's like a creative director or something. He's going to still waste more of the company's money making movies that nobody watches. And when I say movies, I'm not talking about like Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman?
Let me just point out, because everybody forgets, when these other entertainers out there who are hardcore anti-Jews, when Jeremy Boring, when the issue began, they made predictions. Some of the most popular all made the prediction that Boring would be out by the end of the week. There would be no more. He would be thrust out of that entire Daily Wire. Benny Shapiro was getting rid of him. It was over for him. Don't ever forget that they make these predictions. They aver them, and then they don't happen. They are routinely, regularly 100% wrong. I know that the week after that, they then made a contradictory argument. It doesn't change that Jeremy Boring is still there.
Or the other one about racism, which I haven't seen, but What is a Woman is fantastic. Jeremy has always wanted to be a Hollywood director, and so he is wasting countless millions of dollars of the Daily Wire making, these kind of low-budget Hollywood B movies. That's a whole other story. But here he is talking about what would finally end the bizarre double standard regarding the little N-word once and for all.
Here's the problem. The problem is that anonymity on the internet allows for the ghettoizing of beliefs that are not approved by the regime. So a lot of people will say, well, I have to be anonymous on the internet because my boss finds out that I've got these views, they'll fire me. But you're only in the position where your boss could fire you for finding out about those views because you've allowed those views to be completely ghettoized through anonymity online.
No, sir, because there are certain views and certain common sense observations that if people were to make them out loud.
You can lose your job and get your life ruined because it's at variance, along with many other things, with anti-whiteism. If you want to defeat this, you focus on anti-whiteism and that social morality, that is the anti-white immoral imperative, which we teach you how to defeat. If you want to keep fucking around with your little peckers, you're going to keep talking about the N-word is the problem. I wouldn't be surprised. How can I phrase this? It would be nice to see how nothing comes of the N-word being permitted again, although I don't see that happening. But it would be nice to watch as these people are suddenly they're like, I want to shout N-word, enter. And then they're like, all right, bitch, go ahead. Now what? So that's what I have to say to all of you Wignats and those of you who are intimidated or moved by the Wignat scum out there, and they want to jump on the bandwagon of Wignat acrimony and stupidity. I want to ask you, what now? What now? What do you do with this now? What's the next step in the recapture of our destiny? We have steps. We have a whole practice and formula. What's the next step for you in this episode of Shilo, Hendrix, and Omar and the use of enter? What do you do now? And now you all go, bleh, bleh. You have no answer. There is no next step. That's a real program for success. Okay, so Tree Father is saying that Craig said that this could be a pretext to get rid of Give, Send, Go. Well, I mean, is the implication there that this is fake? That it was, I mean, I know that Viva Frey is saying that this might be a deal. I'm not speculating that, but that guy is. And wondering, because there have been other instances when people have defrauded the public where they collude. Look the word up, tards. Where they collude to bilk the population. It's happened before. And so that Viva guy is wondering that. In this case, what Craig is speculating is that maybe this was engineered for the purpose of getting rid of Give. Here's the reason. Here's the evidence. We had a reaction we wanted, so here's our problem.
Loud on social media, especially at work, they would be fired because clowns that are supposedly on the forefront of the culture war, like the Daily Wire, are cowards and gatekeepers.
If 5 million people came out today and said the N-word, I'm not recommending it, but no one would ever get fired for saying the N-word again.
Like they wouldn't be able to.
You wouldn't be able to. You would have brought that to a conclusion.
So there is the thinking in the laboratory. This is just if in this hypothetical, it can't happen, right? But what if it did? What does it do for us? What does it do for the white race? If you can call blacks Nners, what does it do? Nothing for us. Nothing. White people will still move away from black neighborhoods, and you'll be left there. White people will say, I'm not going to live around the Nners. So long. And they'll leave you there, and they won't care about you. Could you imagine if suddenly at IBM, Arvind Krishna says, the new ruling class that I've been warning everybody about forever, and now all of these clickbait right wing, the clickbait right, are like, hey, what's going on with all the Indians? Oh, Jason's been telling you that over 20 years. What if Arvind Krishna says, all right, everybody here can say enter. We're still not going to hire white guys. So what does it do for you?
Little absurdity in our culture would be brought to an end.
But the Daily Wire, which is now nearly $1 billion business, is obviously too afraid to allow their hosts to fight that area in the culture war, despite how absurd it is, as their then CEO admits. I mean, what's next? Is it going to take me, a guy with just a laptop and a YouTube channel, to stand up and lead the charge here?
Okay, so that's his characteristic lead in to something he's going to show. And I love it. It's a beautiful little twist that he does there. And this is Dice back during Obama administration using a word that I'm not going to use it because the anti-whites will look for any reason. I'm going to let Dice use it. It's not my words. I disapprove of the words that he's going to use now. But I want you to just notice how there's a community out there that think that this little bitch is a godsend because he used this word recently. And they say in their fallible thinking, their error, that everything has changed in the world. And this little guy, I'll just say it, Fuentes, this little guy has made it possible for us to say this word. And that's revolutionary. Nobody else has said it until this little guy said it. And now he's the king of all things, kind of like Shilo is the queen of all things. But let's take a look at Dice years ago.
Oh, wait, what's this? It's a YouTube video I made 12 years ago about this very topic, trying to put an end to this little
12
absurdity.
years ago.
We're talking about niggas today, and I'm looking to see if you'll give me a nigga pass. To
I disavow the use.
say, can I say nigga? We got President Obama is in the office. President, he's mended race relations. Can I use the nigga word these days?
I don't care.
You don't care. So I got a nigga pass.
Yeah. This is my nigga Mark. He has the nigga pass to say nigga whenever he wants.
Yeah, thanks, nigga. All right, bro. You see, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk.
All right. So that was that. And then we have a little bit of this one.
The Minnesota mother who used a bad word to describe a black kid who stole something out of her bag at the park and then went viral on TikTok for all the twits, literally tried to ruin her life, has become a major cultural figure. And this story is getting bigger by the day. And coming this next week, Monday, Tuesday, you may finally start to see some of the conservative Inc. hosts weigh in on the situation. They've been afraid to say anything about it because they don't want to be accused of being racist by defending this woman for what she said, but I certainly will. And the mainstream media has been reluctant to cover this story because the more attention it gets, the more support the woman gets, and the more money is raised on the crowdfunding platform Give, Send, Go for her. And it's not about getting her hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to give restitution to what is essentially her life being destroyed by the people on TikTok. They've done this to numerous other people. This is about sending a message that we're not going to tolerate cancel culture anymore. We're not going to tolerate the online anger mobs ruining people's lives, especially white people, when they use a little word that either hurts black people's feelings because they have black fragility, or they pretend that it does so that they can use that leverage to gain power over white people. So subscribe to the channel here if you're new and stay tuned.
So like he's pointing to something with that comment about does it really hurt their feelings, or is it just something they can use? But use how? Like what's in place that it can be used? That's what that thing is, what you need to be talking about if you want to remedy this. If you want to remedy our victimization, that thing is the ideology, psychological warfare of anti-whiteism.
We're going to go very deep here. This is from Newsweek magazine, the first kind of major outlet to cover this. Woman who called kid N-word, oh no, raises over $300,000 to relocate. This from the New York Post. Minnesota mom rakes in over $500,000 after calling boy with autism the N-word. Now, there are claims on the internet that the boy was 5 years old. The photo of him from the video is still, certainly doesn't look like a 5-year-old. It looks more like a 10-year-old. And I highly doubt that he actually is autistic. That's probably just a euphemism for crack baby. Her Give, Send, Go, which is a crowdsourcing platform. It's the alternative to GoFundMe, which would never allow something like this. GoFundMe banned Kyle Rittenhouse, you may recall, of course, who did nothing wrong. And so this page now is up to, well, let's refresh it, 587,000 when I pulled up this tab.
Spike is asking about Wignat. It is a white, and then the word that everybody is using here, and nationalist. So it takes that part of it out of it, just makes it wig and nat. That's what it is.
For this video, $593,000. By the way, I will leave a link to this down in the description below if you want to help push this to $1 million. And again, it's not about making this woman a millionaire, giving her hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's about sending a message. Because we're not going to allow white people's lives to be ruined if they utter a little word that offends certain black people.
If that really is the point, is to be able to say enter, then it's a non-starter. It's not going to accomplish anything. It's been said by the entire population when it was 90+% white in the U.S., said in other Western countries. Raymond Foster pointing out also that hate speech is codified in law in Australia. Yeah, there are other Western countries where anti-whiteism is more advanced than the United States in this particular area because of the lack of what we have here in the United States, both the First and Second Amendment, the right to self-defense. But as you can see, they have undermined that First Amendment right. They did it a long time ago because they know what's on paper doesn't really matter. But thanks for the point. James asking to me, have you ever considered going on these platforms to promote the cause? That would be interesting to see. What platform? Tag me again as No White Guilt. I'm streaming right now to numerous platforms. I give an infinite amount of time of my life for something that I don't do as a living because I love our people. I take endless abuse from supposedly white, some of them are white, but endless abuse for doing the right thing that produces receipts of victories. Here's Dice back again on the whatever superficial knowledge he has of Lily Gaddis. I mean, if you just see the article, what would you conclude by this? If that's all he saw, he doesn't know any more about her, then it's understandable what he's saying here.
Like they did to Lily Gaddis, that cute girl who was doing a cooking video and then was using some ghetto slang, just trying to be cool, not even trying to offend anybody, not using the word aimed at anybody, just using the cool ghetto slang that's popularized in rap culture. But then they canceled her. She got doxxed, harassed, fired from her job. And like this former University of Kentucky student who was kicked out of school and then sentenced to a year in jail. It says for assaulting a fellow student, but that's not why she was sentenced to jail. It's all on.
By the way, moving forward, since the big fight on Give, Sin, Go was over saying enter rather than objecting to anti-whiteism, Give, Sin, Go is probably going to be out of business. So you won't be able to finance the next cupcake that causes you and your little Willie to get all excited and call her queen and attack people like me. Because it will be destroyed. That method of financing and saving these women will be destroyed as a consequence of what you're doing, of what you promote, Wignats.
Video, she mildly pushed another girl. There was no injury, there was no malice. She was drunk, but she was uttering the little N-word, and so she got a year in jail. This is about ending the double standard when black people call white people racial slurs with zero consequence. I just asked Grok, which is Twitter's ChatGPT, just to come up with a list of...
How do you end the double standard? You would end it by addressing anti-whiteism. You're not going to end it by begging to be able to insult blacks. But Mark is speaking for his audience, and that's understandable. I am a revolutionary speaking about how to remedy our problem. I don't want to go to my grave with this no better than when I found it. In fact, worse. So that's my motivation.
Some of them. And I'm not offended by any of these. Cracker. Oh no. Honky. Whitey. Becca Wood. Redneck. White trash.
Can you just hear the folks out there, white guys? I've heard it my whole life. I don't mind if they call me Whitey. Well, you only care about an insult because it hurts you. I'm proud to be white. I don't care. Okay, well, they do. They do. Anti-whiteism cares. So it doesn't matter how many times you say that it shouldn't matter, it still is going to matter because you're not addressing anti-whiteism. You beer swilling, can't find your dick since your belly swelled over your pants, loser.
Mayo monkey. It just goes on and on. White bread, Casper, Yokel, never heard that one. I couldn't care less if black people use these words. People used to be able to say the N-word on all social media platforms. It was no big deal. But then the cancel culture mob started coming for them. And they did a compilation of Joe Rogan saying it probably dozens of times on his podcast over the years. And then when that went viral, he did the shameful thing and he apologized and said that no white people should ever use that word in any context. You may have seen this compilation. If not, I'll post it on my locals.
So Rogan used to say enter, and then there was pressure. What creates the pressure? What do you have to address then? I mean, this is tiresome. If these people are this dumb in the white race that they can't get this. So he's asking. Well, first of all, says, Jason, I'm glad you do this out of love rather than do that. Yeah. James is asking, go on to popular podcasts. They won't have me. They won't have somebody who is revolutionary, who delegitimizes the other tactics by way of our successes. They won't have it. That's a threat to their grift. And beyond that, what's also a threat is all of the Wignat sewer simps who go on to their channels. And we have watched in real time when swashbucklers show up. And for years, we were trying to get in front of these people, try to get articles done, about our different victories. Here's our evidence. Here's another huge victory using the practice. And as soon as we write into the thread or whatever it is, the Wignat scum shows up and threatens the content creator. And what is the content creator concerned with? Making a living, being popular. We had a group here just this year. This has happened twice this year. I won't mention the New Zealand group to protect these guys. They wanted me. They wrote a very nice email. Please come. We want to hear. This is awesome. Nobody's having success. And they wanted me to come on and talk about it. What happened? We set up the interview. A week went by, and then they got the word. Then they got the word that the Wignat scum in their audience would slander them, would tell people not to go watch their streams because they are going to have on somebody the Wignats don't like. So they reached back out and they said, terribly sorry. Have to schedule for some other time in the future. Some other point in the future. Which, of course, is never. I asked it, tell me who pressured. And, of course, they wouldn't. Because that would get them in trouble as well if I decided to show that. So there are actually two more. There are two females as well. But it can happen. The thing that benefits us can't reach white people. Not just because anti-whites and anti-whiteism are in the way, or at least some of these Wignats are assuredly anti-whites pretending to be pro-white, but it can't happen because of the totality of these losers. So, for years, we have slogged through abject anonymity inflicted by so-called white, pro-white people. And this is, by the way, anti-whites are looking at this. Anti-whites, that article that was done on us by Al Jazeera, they mentioned this. They mentioned the fact that all of these Wignats and the rest, that they slander and do everything they can to prevent channels from having anything to do with us, prevent content creators. And now to make matters worse, the evidence abounds with there being networks behind so many content creators, where studios go up, where people are flown across the country and even country to country to interview in some guy who was just a nothing, had no show, all of a sudden can barely string a sentence together, all of a sudden beautiful, high-paid studio, people flown in for in-person interviews. They're networks with agents. We just had Sarah Stock reveal that she was on a casting list to get onto that show Jubilee by way of a friend with the agent. Who are these agents? Who is the network making these people money that want nothing to do with white well-being? Casting list. Terminology taken right out of Hollywood.
Page. I shouldn't show it here, otherwise YouTube will probably take my video down for supposed hate speech. But there's a compilation here of the Young Jerks, Chunk Uger, and Alex Barron and others using the word over and over and over again. Hard R in the past, before society got soft and before we bowed down to.
Is it that society got soft? Anti-whiteism is achieving greater and greater victories. That's what it is.
To black supremacy.
Worst breakfast for your waistline.
Oatmeal's healthy, right?
And unfortunately there, he said, bow down.
Because of this viral video and the massive fun.
Black supremacy. That's not why. People are not bowing to black. So I disagree with Mark, and that's okay. People are not bowing down to black supremacy. They're capitulating to the increasing victory of the psychological warfare that is anti-whiteism. And then here we go with the phrase that's now being used over what this Shilo Hendrix event is all about. It's all about black people. But I thought it was all about white people.
That have been raised and all the support that people have, stunning those on the left that anybody would dare defend a white person using the little word. I'm also now seeing the word or the phrase black fatigue come into the public lexicon. I would never see anybody talking about this on social media, especially none of the mainstream figures on the right, or even the kind of the wannabe mainstream Twitter personalities and YouTube hosts. But now I am seeing people talk about black fatigue, which if you haven't heard.
Isn't it a shame? These mainstream conservative people should be talking about anti-whiteism. But it's perfectly in keeping with being trapped in the anti-white narrative that they're going to end up talking about black fatigue. Why not just white race just all take strychnine?
About it describes the mental exhaustion from being forced to care about black people and their actions 24/7.
Nobody has been more exhausted over that than me. I've given massive rants over having to concern myself since I was in kindergarten with black males, the black race in general, but principally black males, how they're doing, what they're thinking, what's on their minds, why are they hurting, what can we do for them? But I wanted to fix this problem. So I'm not taking it out on blacks. I'm fixing the white race. I'm going after the ideology that has trapped us. And among the things that injure us is this hyper concern with how well blacks are doing and what are they thinking and how can we help them.
7. And now the NAACP, which stands for the National Association of Colored People. But again, you're not even supposed to say that anymore as a white person. But obviously, I couldn't care less. The Rochester branch of the NAACP has now created a Give, Send, Go page for the child that was called the little word. And they raised $341,000.
So the black child who supposedly, and we're told by Shilo, no reason to not believe, stole items from the diaper bag, has a Give, Send, Go himself, and the money is rocketing.
Because apparently the child is just so traumatized now that he too needs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here's a still image from the viral video. You can't tell me that this is a 5-year-old. He looks more like he is 10 or 11. And of course, they want the woman arrested. Digging deeper, this is like a local news station. Legal expert weighs in on viral video of reported racial slurs toward a child. And I know that some people are saying that she shouldn't have called the child that. That was crossing the line. But it really was what's called an excited utterance. It's when somebody just says something in the heat of the moment. Like if you drop and break something, or if you bump in and hurt yourself or stub your toe, you might just swear. And you don't mean to, it just kind of comes out. These things happen. And I don't see it any different than calling the kid a punk. Because like Chris Rock said, there's black people and there's...
By the way, Chris Rock does not do this bit anymore. Not because it's old and stale.
KTTC is reaching out to law enforcement in the wake of a video going viral on social media that was reportedly recorded in Rochester, and many of our viewers have contacted us about it.
They're reaching out to law enforcement. They're tattling on this woman to the police because so many people want her arrested.
We can now confirm Rochester police have received multiple calls about the video and are actively looking into the matter. The Rochester branch of the NAACP released a statement today about the video, saying it is outraged and deeply disturbed by the incident, saying in part, quote, "We call on the City of Rochester Police Department, the City of Rochester's City Attorney's Office, and Olmsted County Attorney's Office to launch a full investigation and to file all appropriate charges," end quote.
Well, do you care about Shilo? Then you're going to criticize the reckless behavior for her and her family, because why? You can sympathize with her being injured this way. If you don't care about her, then you're going to attack me because I and what I do invalidates your sick little slur fetish of celebrating her saying enter.
What charges? There's the First Amendment, freedom of speech. If you don't like it, go back to Africa. This is another reason why so many people are donating to her page, because the powers that be most likely will launch a vicious...
Like, pay attention to Dice's comment right there. First Amendment, abstraction. If you don't like it, go back to Africa. Is that a statement of a revolutionary for this is how we recapture our destiny? Here are these steps work. Here are the successes out of those steps. Here are the testimonials. No, these are the words of an entertainer. That's hilarious that he just said. It's not going to do anything. So the people who sent me this and they're like, "I set you straight there, didn't he?" He set me straight. Fuck you.
Lawfare campaign against her, investigating her with CPS, trying to take her kids away, filing civil lawsuits against her, claiming defamation or claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress against the black kid. And so
what about the lawsuits that might take all this money away from her? Has anybody thought about that? God, I swear to God, sometimes, you know, I get the urge to just, if the white race has turned its back on me, then fuck you all.
So she's going to need a lot of money to defend against those. And this could very well be.
So she's going to need more money. And then when she loses a civil suit, she's going to be, the child or whoever is going to be awarded a massive sum of all of this money that you all gave her.
The end of Give, Send, Go. They may have to shut down because of this, because the credit card processors are most likely very soon going to stop doing business with them altogether. And to their credit, they didn't take the page down. They did turn the comments off, though, in order to try to appease the credit card processors who undoubtedly are reaching out to them and pressuring them to shut it down, saying that because people were posting, you know, mean things on not only Shilo Hendrix' page, but also on Carmelo Anthony's page. The black people were posting a lot of anti-white stuff on Shilo Hendrix' page. People were expressing their opinions that they're tired of the double standard, et cetera.
That's convenient for the processor to just say, oh, these folks too. It's all about what's being said by the Wignats. So if Give, Send, Go is taken down and we do not have a means to crowdfund like this, it will be because of the Wignats and because of the Fuentesians who are participating in this. It'll be their fault. Don't anybody forget it. It's what they are saying this is all about. It's what the Sam Parker is saying. Who's saying enter better? It's what they are driving that destroys the vectors of opportunity for the white race. Just remember that. Don't forget that.
Etc. And so he posted something on Twitter, on X, explaining the reason for that. But Discover actually cut ties with Give, Send, Go because of the Kyle Rittenhouse defense, because it was so atrocious that they would allow fundraising for someone who obviously, and then ultimately, as the court decided, jury of his peers, didn't do anything wrong. And the platform is a Christian platform, and they took the principled stance to not only allow Kyle to fundraise, but also Carmelo Anthony. There were many on the right were calling for that page to be taken down. He's the thug who killed the white kid at the track meet that raised over $500,000 for his defense. But the CEO posted that they're taking the principled stance that they are going to allow anybody to fundraise on that page. And so, again, I think this is probably the end of Give, Send, Go, sadly. And since a picture is worth 1,000 words, there are plenty of memes being created and going viral illustrating this situation, like this one, which, if you're not familiar with this original picture, it's called Free Speech. And it's a guy standing up and saying what others are afraid to say. And so the woman has been swapped out with his face, and she is a queen now.
Now, so really got to point out there, really relevant, with all of our successes, with all of our achievements, there's no huge effort to make. How about some of the women in our community? How about some of the guys in our community that have had colossal real world successes to benefit not only themselves, but our people? And there's no slew of memes. There's no slew of look at this king. There's no slew of look at this queen. There's no effort for yours truly to even talk to me about how we achieve these enormous successes. No, it's she said enter. I mean, even Jared Taylor, who ignores the ever-living shit out of me, go figure that out for yourself, is celebrating this woman, Shilo Hendrix, as this queen that must be for the whole, everybody's got to rally, everybody's got to know about her. But the people achieving success, no, not only not kings, not only not queens, don't even talk to them. Something's wrong, folks. Something is really wrong. And I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take for the white race. I don't know what it's going to take to reach enough people. We just have to keep plowing ahead. But something is really wrong with white people. Something is really wrong with these white content creators that purport to care about our well-being and what's happening to us. This intentional, this willful ignoring of us, this willful ostracizing of what works. It's being driven, and it's being driven by deep jealousy. It's being driven in part by so many of these wignat sewer simp garbage that are just genetically inferior within the white race. They are inferior. They are uneducated. They have low IQs, and they hate everybody that succeeds. They hate everybody that works hard. They hate everybody like that. They want to be able to be all right. They want to be able to be the leaders. They want to be able to give their opinions and be aggrandized. And anybody succeeding is going to be, must be silenced, slandered, shut down so that nobody can know about it. And you know what else? You know what else? Some of this is probably being driven right out of anti-white hovels in Harvard, in Israel, in Berlin, in anti-white hellholes around the West. I wouldn't doubt it for a minute. What a glorious gathering it has been. What a delineation that we've drawn here, so vitally important, between the Wignats, the anti-non-white endeavors, personalities, followers, the low-life, uneducated, ugly, inbred followers of theirs, demonstrating how anti-white they are, how aggressive, verbally aggressive they are in endeavoring to shut down that which helps white people. Never forget that even if these Fuentes followers or the Wignats or what, even if they disagreed with us about how to get to the end of our victimization, if that was their genuine objective, never forget this, always have it on your lips and at the forefront of your mind, then if they came upon a group helping white people, a group actually achieving successes in the lives of white people, they would have to admire that. They would have, even if they disagreed, even if they didn't want to debate it because they were invested in something else, something from the past that fails, they would have to admire it. They wouldn't attack it. If they really cared about white people, no one who cares about white people, never forget, because this is how you can delineate between what's healthy and what's unhealthy, what's disease and cancer, and what's salubrious and a boon. Because if they claim to care about white people, then any success would have to be something they would have to endorse. They would have to say, that's awesome. That's wonderful. That's marvelous. I don't want to do it because I like these gray uniforms, or I don't want to do it because I like to call blacks Ners or Jewish people K, etc. I don't want to do that, but this is what I want to do. But they're actually benefiting white people. And since I care about white people, I want to end our victimization. That's a glorious thing. That would be their position, but that's not their position. Their position is destroy those people helping whites. Destroy the guy that has done so much out of love for his people that 2 children are named after him. Not a rock star, not famous, not dead, not a family member, and got children named after me. These are tangible, real-life victories benefiting white people. And if these folks want to destroy that, that tells you everything you need to know about them. There's no recourse to what they write about or what they talk about, or, hey, our ideas here, and just complaining about how bad everything's are, that this is the way, this is what you should be doing. No, you can ignore all of that. You know, they're talking now about the Shilo filter. You should be talking about the Köhne filter. How do you feel about Jason Köhne? If you celebrate his victories, even if you, and the victories of this community, the House of Swash, if you celebrate those because real tangible white people are being benefited, well, then you actually care about the white race, even if you want to do things differently. But if you hate Köhne and the House of Swash, if you want to destroy them, then you are filth. You don't care about the white race, and we don't need to know anything else about what you think might work, what you think needs to be done. All of that's irrelevant, because something that is working, you despise and want to destroy. Period. So now, no Shilo filter. It's the Köhne filter. Thank you for everybody showing up in the live chat. Big thank you. If you imagine how much more sympathetic Shilo would be if she had called this guy an anti-white MFer or what have you. Imagine how much more sympathetic she would be. You immediately make yourself into this. You know what else would happen? What would be the odds that she would be getting ruined for the rest of her life by anti-whites who are going to hunt forever if she called them anti-white, versus what she said and now what she's going to have to endure?